I was just thinking about that moment where Peter and John encountered that crippled man who was begging for alms in Acts chapter 3. And the enormous confidence that Peter had to point this man not to an invisible Jesus, because by that time Jesus already ascended and left the scene for 2 months. It was 60 days ago. Instead, Peter said to him, "Sir, look at us. What we have belongs to you." And to me, this is the most enormous moment that any person, any individual can encounter, is when they discover in the pages of the Bible and of the book so much more than just a vague, distant promise beyond their reach. We are not dealing with a display window message, with a new set of rules that we have to compromise here, compromise there, and continue to strive to become and hopefully one day qualify to win God's approval. But Jesus Christ arrived on planet Earth 12 years ago to shock the world with the reality of their likeness, their image, redeemed, the very invisible God made visible again, not as in a display window, but as in a mirror, so that we may now be free to behold the glory of the Lord, the authentic, the original thought of God, unveiled in so much more than language. I appreciate language. This book, the Mirror translation, is really the theme of my heart. You know, I've been for several years been engaged in translating from the original text, the Greek text, which is the original text of the New Testament. But I'm always so aware that every word that we draw on carries so much more than just its meaning. There is such a larger context to word than just the individual word's meaning. I'm so glad that when John begins to write, you know, he's now more than 90 years old, when he begins to document his encounter with Christ. And then, unlike Matthew and Luke, John doesn't go back into the genealogies, you know, of who was whose father and who was whose grandfather and where do we all fit into this long lineage of ancestors. John skips the whole lot and he says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God." We are dealing with God Himself, unveiled in a language beyond language, in a language that finds its most articulate definition in the incarnation, in the Word becoming flesh. Your person, your body, is the destiny of God's Word. You are the greatest idea that ever was. Jesus Christ is God's mind made up about you. God is not in the process of gathering information so that He might just feel a happy thought towards you. We thought that faith had something to do with our clumsy efforts to try and win God's attention. You know, to do enough, to give enough money and to say enough positive things that maybe we're winning God's favorable feedback. We've had it wrong all along. Faith has got nothing to do with our effort to impress God. Faith is an awakening of our hearts to how eternally impressed our Father has always been with us. He is mindful of you. There is no other thought that God cherishes more than the thought of you. This is why I call this translation the Mirror translation.